Hello, everyone. You are all welcome to another live session. So, guys, we all know that yesterday was a great day because we took time to look at the address that has been written by Tinubu's councils. We put them side by side with the Constitution. And like our Dr. Tell told us yesterday that their report is just empty, or looking at it from the eye of the Constitution, you know that it's just empty. So today again, we'll be diving deep into some of the things they wrote in their address. We really want to follow, their points constitutionally. We don't just want to come here to start making empty debate. We want to check what the Constitution says and what they wrote in their address. We'll also be looking at the Electoral Act, because these are some of the things that we must have them with us for us to debunk whatever they've written in this their report. So today, Dr. Etel is equally here. We are going to be diving deep in this their address. Let's see what they wrote, if they even make sense, as in if there is anything that one can take away from it. So Dr. Etel, it's over to you.
Okay. I just want to say good day to everyone once again before I jump in deeper as we have started yesterday. One of the issues in contention was the case of the 25% of the FCT. Now, you know that what the Tinubu's council wanted to do is to pick all the prayers of the Labour Party and Peter Obi to trash all of them with their essay, as I call it. I call it their essay. And those are the things that the judges will be looking at. As Madam, you rightly said, I really don't think we should just come here and begin to scream, oh, this party is wicked, this party is good or not good. What is it that the judges that will determine the fate of our principal? This is the document he will read. He will subject these documents to the Constitution, one, as the principal book that overarches over every other document. They will also subject it to the Electoral Act, to the regulations of the INEC and the manuals of INEC. And that is why those pieces of documents that the judges will be looking at when they are reading this thing, we want to bring it to the public and read it to them and show them the same places they referred. Because whilst I was reading their address, you see all those lofty English, and then they are quoting some part of the Constitution, and I am beginning to wonder, wow, what is this new thing in the Constitution regarding election that I have not seen? And then when I go there and I'm like, it's like the same old thing that we all know. For instance, this issue number 3 means the prayer of number 3 of the Labour Party that has to do with the 25% of the FCT. And let me just go through and pick 3 points they raised there. It says, we have premised this issue on the combined reading of sections 134 and 299 of the Constitution and section 66 of the Electoral Act, meaning they are dependent on 3 sections of the law, 2 from the Constitution and 1 from the Electoral Act, to do what? To hang their argument. They are hanging their argument on these 3 sections. We are going to get back to these sections of the law because we have them here. We will read it. All right. So we will read these sections of the law to Nigerians. I will give my own understanding, and Nigerians will have the liberty to also make their own judgment. Because another thing I have also noticed is that most Nigerians just want to be carried, this wave of news. But how many of us have actually even read those address and decided to check those things they are quoting there to really know whether it makes sense, to really know whether those things, those sections of the law they are referencing there, whether it is injurious to Labour Party, whether it is injurious to Peter Obi's prayer or not. And that's what I'm trying to do here. If you don't have the time to divulge the whole content of the Constitution, I have sifted those areas that are of concern, especially those areas that they themselves quoted, and let us compare it with other sections. And I am glad that he says they combine reading, which means they believe in combined reading of the relevant sections of the law, not just picking one. And we are going to do combined reading today to also argue our own case. That's number one. Number two, he says, they also argued here, as you can see, that all the votes in Nigeria are equal. I'm reading the last paragraph. He says, within the Nigerian context, there is no superiority between the votes from voters secured in either Lagos or Kano, which are the most populous states, and Bayelsa, Ebonyi, and Ekiti, which are the least populous states. Fine. Can I see the other slide, please? Let me just see the other slide. There's something he said there about the US. It says, in the US, I want to see the one in the US, for example, where the electoral college system appears more potent than the popular ballot in some circumstances. The District of Columbia, which houses the capital city, has 3 electoral college votes, while the smaller states like Rhode Island, North Dakota, Wyoming, Hawaii, Washington State itself, and Arkansas have 4, 3, 3, 4, 12, and 6 electoral votes, respectively. It says the larger states of Florida, Texas, California, they have electoral votes of 30, 40, and 54, respectively. So these electoral college votes are shared according to the representative population of the states, without any preference being allocated to Washington, D.C., which is the state capital. Coming back to Nigeria, let's stop here. I picked something here because what these people are trying to do, they don't just want to look at clean print letters of the law. They are trying to read meaning. If you have read through the whole essay they wrote, I keep calling it essay deliberately because to me it is an essay. Coming to the essay that they wrote, you realize that they keep putting this idea of the intention of those who wrote the law, the intention of those who wrote the law. So we are also going to argue today. By the time we are done, let us know what we will think that the intention of those who wrote the law will favor more than what we are talking here. So he's talking about the US states, United States, where they do electoral college. Now, has it occurred to them that what determines who becomes the president of America is not whether you won in Washington, D.C. or Rhode Island or Texas, but provided you have greater number of electoral votes. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So what it means is that if you won a state like California, you won a state like Texas and Florida, only the 3 states, and the other person is fortunate enough to win all the other states. If the person eventually overshoots you with 3 votes or with 4 votes, that is when you know the power of Washington, D.C., because that 3 votes may as well make you a president. It does not matter if you are the person who won Texas, who won Florida, or California, or New York. At the end of it all, when all of them are summed, will he give you that 270? I think it is 270 that is always the thing. Will he give you that 270 or 271 electoral college votes? If he didn't give you, all those big votes becomes useless. And that is where you realize that even the small votes like Rhode Island, like North Dakota, like Washington can be there to save you. That's when you know it's going to come there to save you. Now, but you can also see that in America, you remember that in 2016, the person who won the majority of the votes was Hillary Clinton. But Donald Trump became the president because by electoral college, he won more electoral college than the popular vote. And in America too, they were arguing, why are we wasting our votes? Because, for instance, somebody won maybe 71 million votes, but the other person who won 51 million votes became the president because of the constitutional provision of the value of electoral college. So I am asking Nigerians, do we really think that that argument they brought in using America is actually helping them here? Because they're actually trying to tell us here that all votes are not equal, depending on how those votes are structured by law. Depending on how those votes are structured by law. If votes are structured by law, you may have fewer number of votes and you become a president in America, because you won those votes in places where it gives you more electoral college. It's as simple as that. So I think I'm hearing some echo. If I'm talking, is it okay for us to just mute our microphones so that whatever is flying in may not be coming in? Okay. So now, by so doing, you can see that from my own point of view, that he has actually admitted that circumstances could make all the votes not to be equal. Because if every thumb that printed counts, then anybody who has the majority of the votes in America will become the president. But when all the votes, even if the whole of 38 million people, I think the last time I checked the population of is it California? I think they're about 30-something million. Even if the 30-something million of them were to vote, all their votes put together will be equal to the electoral college votes that is assigned to that state. That's all. And if only 50 people came out in Texas to vote and 27 people voted the president, that 27 people will get the whole electoral college votes of Texas, period. And when you come to Washington, if in Washington 200 people came to vote there, all their vote will be reduced to 3 electoral college votes. Simple. So if you subject that same law that is applicable in America to this argument, I think he's actually indirectly admitting that when the constitution comes down, there are some ways. Okay, look at it even in Nigeria. They said, first of all, you have to score the most populous votes. And then you now have to go and sift 25% in 24 states. So why is 25% of the vote now becoming a determinant of who will be a president, when the person has already ballooned his way by winning the most populous votes? That tells us that based on the writing of the constitution, they don't just want someone to go to Kano State, go to Lagos State, go to Rivers State, and grab the votes there and become president. They want other things to happen in such a way that every Nigerian, no matter where you are, your vote counts. And so the question is, are they reducing the votes of Abuja to nothing? Abuja is the center of Nigeria. All Nigerians have a stake in Abuja. And as we are going to read in the Constitution today, now, I think we need to begin to go into Constitution now. Can you give me the section 2 of the section 1 and 2 of the 1999 Constitution? We have it here. Let's see what it's saying about Nigeria as a country and Abuja as the FCT. Beautiful. The section 1 and 2, the one that says introduction. Okay, here. No, this is section 134. That's one that says section 1 and 2. In the section 1 and 2 is defining Nigeria and define good, beautiful. Now, if you look at this particular thing here, Nigerians, let's look at section. This is section general provision, Federal Republic of Nigeria, number 2, which is what I call section 2. Subsection 1 says, Nigeria is one indivisible and indissoluble sovereign state to be known by the name of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So, our constitution, section 2, subsection 1, the only thing it did was to tell us the name of our country, that it will be known as Federal Republic of Nigeria. Subsection 2 will tell us what made up this Federal Republic of Nigeria. It says, Nigeria shall be a federation consisting of states and a federal capital territory. If you take away the federal capital territory, Nigeria is no longer complete. If you take away the states, leaving only the federal capital territory, Nigeria is no longer complete. Now, this is the beginning of the constitution. And Nigerians, please, let this guide our thoughts so that whenever we talk about Abuja, you will be asking yourself, what is in the mind of those who framed this constitution? If you go to even the section 3 defined what is a state and named the states by name. And further on, defined what is the federal capital and named it. Whereas states have local government, federal capital has area council. Now, the section 299 that they referred to, if we have it, we could go to see that 299. Sorry, it's like the slide I gave you are going to be shaky. But if we rush to 299, while you're looking for it, I think I have a printed copy here. I will just read it of the 299 of the Constitution, what it says. .299 of the Constitution says that yes, beautiful. It says the provision of this Constitution shall apply to the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, as if it is. It says the provision of this Constitution shall apply to Abuja as if it were a state of the Federation accordingly. Number one, it says all the legislative powers, the executive powers and the judicial powers vested on the House of Assembly, the governor of a state, and in the courts of a state shall respectively vest in the National Assembly, the president, and the federation, of the federation, and in the courts by the virtue of the foregoing provisions. Now, you know what it's telling us here? It's trying to tell us, as a country that is running, this is how Abuja will be administered. Meaning that the president will also function as the governor of Abuja. The National Assembly will function as the House of Assembly of Abuja. The court system there will also function in the same way the states, governors can appoint the chief judge of the state and co in Abuja. Now, if the president will be the governor of Abuja, which governor has ever won a state and become the governor of that state without winning the majority of the votes in that state? So section 299 that they quoted is simply telling us the administration of Abuja. It has absolutely nothing to do with the selection of a president. Selection of a president is dealt with in section 134 only. And if you go there, it talks about election of a president, not administration of Abuja. For instance, if we refer him back to what he said regarding the US, the Washington, D.C. has 3 electoral college votes, but they do not have a governor. They have just a mayor of the D.C. But on the day of election, there is a structure that everybody takes to do their election. when it comes to electing our president, there is a condition that you have to fulfill. And that condition is shown in section 134, subsection 2, where they quoted. And let us go back there so that we can finish with all the laws that they quoted. And we now begin to bring other laws that they deliberately avoided. The 134, the very first one you gave me before, there were some that they deliberately avoided. But let us, first of all, finish. Go on. You're going to see the one that, yes, beautiful. Now, section 134 here says, no, this is one. Let me read this 33, and then we go to this 134. A candidate for an election to the office of the president shall be deemed to have been duly elected to such office, where being the only candidate nominated for the election, A, he has a majority of yes votes. Are you seeing that even our constitution preempts that there may be a situation whereby only one candidate becomes more like unopposed? He's a sole candidate. Even that sole candidate, the whole nation must come and do what? Say yes for him. And in saying yes for him, he must get the greater number of yes votes than the no votes. What it means is that, assuming Abacha were to wake up today and come back to our politics, and all the political parties did what they did in 1998 and say, he's our sole candidate. If on that day of election, all of us Nigerians decided not to come out, the constitution says he cannot be president. And if all of us even decide to come out and there were more no than yes, he will still not be president. And that is condition number one that has to, and that is where every vote counts. Every vote has equal value when it comes to the popular vote. But the second condition start discriminating now with respect to the value of vote, because it says here, he has not less than 1/4 of the vote cast in the election in each of at least 2/3 of all the states in the federation and the federal capital. Remember that Nigeria shall be comprised of the states and the federal capital. And times without number, I've discussed in this space that Nigeria could be likened to a tree with 2 branches, one big branches with 36 sub-branches, and the other branch, which is just one branch standing alone. That other branch that is standing alone is the FCT, and the other big branch with 36 sub-branches is the states. And for you to say you have plucked the fruits in the whole of Nigeria, you must climb the other big branch, get 24% of the 2/3, 25% of the 2/3, come down, climb the other branch, and get 25% of that place. That is my own understanding of this section of the law. And that is even what many other people have as the opinion. But of course, it did not favor. Do you know that before the election? Okay, let me tell you that this is like a premeditated thing. Before the election, Olisa Abakova SAN wrote INEC way before time and said, please, INEC, can you people explain to us the position of Abuja so that politicians who are going in to vie for this vote, they will know what they are chasing? INEC did not give any response. Festus Okoye came to the national television. They asked him the same question. They said, Olisa Abakova just wrote to you people. Would you give us your position? He said, no, that is the prerogative of the chairman. The question is, what were they hiding? It was a very simple thing. If the chairman had come and said, this is my understanding, maybe somebody would have escalated it and have escalated it to the Supreme Court immediately and say, Supreme Court, please, before we go into the election, can you people interpret this place for us so that we are not confused as we go into the polls? I also know people who are loyal to APC, like the Kadaria woman who used to do interview and go. She came on national television And she explained this thing that I am saying now. But since APC was declared the winner, all of them have gone under. Nobody opened their mouth again. Nobody opened their mouth again. But look at section 134 that they are quoting. Section 134 they are quoting, subsection A, 1A, and 2. All of them are simply saying what will happen when there are when there are two candidates. Section 134A is talking about when there are only two candidates. Section 134(2) is talking when there are more than two candidates like we had in this election. But the condition of the first vote, the first ballot, is that you must win the majority of the votes. You must win 25% in 2/3 of the states, which is in 24 out of the 36 states. And you have to win 25% of the FCT. That is my own reading and my own understanding. Now, I'm sorry I am putting you under pressure, madam, but we need to go back to their thesis again, because we are going to do little English language class in this series before we jump out of this place. And if we don't go back to their slide, I will not see the basis under which I'm going to invite these English teachers to come and teach us today, okay? So if you go back to that initial slide where we started this journey, I will appreciate that. Their own thesis. No, not this. You remember their own thesis where we are reading. Beautiful. Now it says, coming back to Nigeria, it is our submission that the wording of the section 134 and 299. Now, I've read this 134 and 299, and I am glad that they say it is their own understanding. That's what they're saying. It is our submission that the wording of section 134 and 299 of the Constitution are clear. While section 3(1) of the Constitution specifically lists the states by their respective names, the side note reads thus: States of the Federation and the Federal Capital, Abuja. Section 299, for ease of reference and clarity, provides thus the provision of the Constitution as applies with, as we have said here, as I mentioned here, the administration of Abuja. Now it says here, section 134(2)(b) of the Constitution provides what we have read, how a candidate to win the presidency if there are more than two candidates going into the election. Let me have the last slide on this particular, this slide 4. Okay. It's going to become very, very, very interesting now. It says, may we draw the attention of the court to the fact that there is no punctuation, comma, in the entire section 134(2)(b). Okay? This is becoming interesting, of the Constitution, particularly immediately after the states and the succeeding and connecting the federal capital and the states. In essence, the reading of the subsection has to be conjunctive and not disjunctive. This got my attention, as the Constitution clearly makes it so. I may be wrong, but permit me on this space to think that it's like they actually made a mistake. They fall for what we're arguing, because I had to go to the dictionary to check the meaning of the word conjunctive, what it means in law, and disjunctive. And can you give me those slides, please? Let's just, maybe for Nigerians, let's just rub our minds together and read together and see if there is any sense in what we are seeing here today. No, the one that is, I sent you some things I got from the dictionary: conjunctive and disjunctive. It's not this. Keep going. So, nope, keep going. Keep going. Yes. Now, I went to, it said, what is an example of conjunctive condition in law? Please, this is what I saw. It says, in a simple example of a conjunctive obligation, Party A could agree to oil Party B's deck, wax Party B's car, and wash Party B's window. These are three separate obligations which all must be rendered in order to satisfy the contract. Three separate obligations. For you to say you have satisfied this contract, you must carry out these three obligations. Now, if we now have states and FCT, what does that tell us? And they talk about 25%. It means there are two separate conditions. Give me, there's another one in that same English series. We're doing English class here today, please. I'm just reading off what I got from the internet. I think I have a printout.
The last one, except if I didn't capture all.
That's probably maybe. Okay, if you didn't capture all, I've got it here. There's one more that is talking about disjunctive. It says a disjunctive allegation are claims. A disjunctive allegation are claims in a pleading that are joined by the disjunction or rather than the conjunction and. It says in criminal law, it is common for prosecutors to make allegations in the conjunctive even when a statute lists the alternative ways an offense may be committed in the disjunctive. That is, from what we are reading here, it's trying to say that there is nothing like that. When you see the and, you're saying all the conditions must be met. It did not give you option to select, to say, okay, if I get 23 states and I grab the 25% of Abuja, I am equal to 24 states. No. Because the states are already defined. You have to go to the states. There are 36 states. You have to get 25% in 24 states and 25% in the FCT. The question here is 25% and where you will get it. You have to get that 25% in the states and in the FCT, not in the state or. I mean, even in logic gates, which is in electronics, there is AND gate, OR gate, NOR gate. There are times they will say AND OR. So I read this and I'm like, did they even know what they're saying? Because if you read it together that way, you're trying to say that the conditions, just like we saw in the dictionary meaning here, that all the conditions must be met. The condition for the state and the condition for the FCT. If Abuja is not so central, I mean, the Chief Justice of the Federation is in Abuja. The National Assembly is in Abuja. Even in the so-called money they want to share, they still made some apportioning. It was the National Assembly that determined the one that will go to the Abuja. Whereas if it were to be in state, the State Assembly will determine money that will be shared in states. So like many people have asked, hence they are talking what will be in the mind of the framers of the Constitution. Do you know that even in courts, they themselves brought a document which they say that has to talk about the statutes of Abuja. And if you listen to the PDP council, they were saying that that document they brought actually worked for the PDP because it goes to highlight the intention of the people who formed Abuja. It's supposed to be a fountain of unity. It's supposed to be a place where everybody is represented. How could you win election 25% of the 2/3 of Nigeria and popular vote, and then coming in the center, the fountain of unity of Nigeria, where all of us, it's like the melting point, you couldn't get that 24%. Does that tell you that you're a popular person? Even in research, you know what is called a representative case. A representative case of Nigeria should be Abuja. When you grab Abuja, you've grabbed a whole mixture of Nigeria. That is why the National Assembly is in Abuja, because as a matter of fact, the whole thing we talk about democracy is actually the legislature. Because if army takes over, you will still have the executive and the judiciary. So all the people who say they are representing Nigeria, they are in Abuja. That's why we have from all the states, 3 senators, and from all the states, members of House of Representatives. And you're telling me that you are a pro-Nigerian, that every Nigerian wants you, but this one place where all of us are represented, you can't grab, you can't scratch 25%. I am asking myself, what is in the mind of the framers of this constitution? That's the question he's asking. I am more inclined to thinking that people who framed that constitution wanted it in such a way that that place matters, even though it's a small place. Just like as small as it is, the president is living there. The whole National Assembly, in fact, do you know that in our constitution, any political party that does not have its headquarters in Abuja cannot function? Are you aware that the law makes it that you must have your headquarters in Abuja? Why? Even if it is a room, even if it is a kitchen, your headquarters must be in Abuja. Why? You could have your headquarters in Nasarawa State, where the land is cheap, buy your mansion there. You could have it in Plateau State, very close to Abuja. But the law says, even though Nasarawa borders Abuja, Nasarawa State will have their state office in Nasarawa, yet the headquarters in Abuja. Plateau in Nasarawa, in FCT, yet they have one in Plateau, yet the headquarters in Abuja. Niger State, the same thing. Kaduna State, the same thing. Kogi State, the same thing. Why? Why would Kogi State and all those states bother themselves? They could just have one big office in Kogi, and that is all. Have they not seen the significance of Abuja that is central? That's the way I'm seeing it. Whilst we wait for the Labour Party to reply, but you can see that even the sections of the law they quoted, it's not novel, it's not something new that is, because the thing is that Nigerians will see this, wow, he quoted this, he didn't make reference to anything new. He made reference to what has been in public space for ages, to the best of my knowledge. So I don't know if you have any question, please.
Yes, I wanted to ask you, because you just said we are waiting for the Labour Party to also respond. But my question is, does it mean that INEC is not going to submit their own address together with the APC? Because we've just heard from Tinubu's lawyers, but not from those of INEC and the APC.
I don't know, but they are the respondents, and the respondents were sued. All right, they may have submitted it and choose not to make it public. All this one we are tearing this apart is because it came out.
Yes.
They don't owe us the public display of that. It may have been submitted and they kept it. You remember the way they brought one witness? They may just, maybe they have seen how their essay is being interpreted even by SSCE people. And they say, let's just leave this thing for the courts. because the thing is, the only power the judges have is the power to make verdict, to give verdict. But nobody can strip Nigerians of the right to pick their constitution and read it and say, this is my understanding of the constitution. It's written in English, black and white. You see, the whole thing we are saying here today, especially with respect to this Abuja thing, fine. You see, the judges could wake up and say, I don't like you people, or I like you people. In fact, Abuja's vote is equal to 0. Fine, good. But we would have told them ahead of time, even we Nigeria, this is what we feel. They can wake up and answer our prayer. Fine. But we are just trying to look at this document. You know, like we said some time ago here, the judges, okay, before we came to this program, we said it some time ago, and I also thought of something before we started this program. It will not be good that people who are criminals will use our judicial system to validate their criminality. Whether armed robbers who are blocking the road, or people who are shoplifting, or kidnappers, or political robbers, any kind of crime, it will not be nice that people who participate in this thing sees loopholes in our judicial system where they will validate their criminality. It does not augur well with the society.
Mm-hmm.
Secondly, I am asking myself also before coming to this place, if all this mountain of concern raised about how INEC conducted this election, about how they trashed their own system, and the kind of brutality that people experienced, and all the issues that surround the candidates of the APC, if at the end of it all, our judiciary says, clear, you're all cleared, all cleared, all cleared. The question I want to ask is, are we ever going to have a credible election in Nigeria again? Will he not go and inform the politicians that, look, that statement that was made in London, grab it, run with it. Anyhow you get it, get it. Will people not see it as the only thing that will work? Because if you want to play by decent, credible, lawful means, you will be given a third position. So when the judiciary, because I listened to, what's his name? On channels, on Arise TV today, one of the commentators on Arise TV today.
Is it Rufai?
No, not Rufai, the other man.
Dr. Bati?
Dr. Bati. I listened to Dr. Bati today, and he said that the Supreme Court since 1979 has always told the part of making sure that, they don't cause chaos in the system, that they maintain peace. And that the Supreme Court is a court of policy as well as court of constitution, meaning that they might decide to make a new policy just to do this thing. And I am asking myself, so Supreme Court, how far now? The things you people have been doing since 1963 to date, where did it leave us in our electoral system? Let me put it this way. If I am to take Abati by his word, I will say that Abati is suggesting that Supreme Court should be blamed for all the problems we have in our electoral system. Because according to what Mike Guinea always say, he says, if the Supreme Court had made it impossible, if he has wielded the big stick on the politicians, they will not be bold to tell you to go to court. It's because for some reasons, the court provides them cover, the court provides them a leeway out, and then because of that, they tell you to do what? To go to court. Why can't our judicial system this time around wake up and say, this court you people All right. Maybe the glitch is asking us to round off, but my signing out statement is simple. Our judiciary, why can't you people deter politicians from coming to use you people as a final thumb that will validate their votes? Deter them, scare them away, let them know that they cannot hide under you people to wriggle. Let them not use you as escape, as a leeway out. When they hear about you, they should be frightened.
Yes.
A man should not forge NYSC certificate. And the Director General of NYSC is saying the certificate you're carrying, my office did not give it to you. And he sued the man who said I didn't sign it. Shouldn't the so let's call it a day. Let's call it a day. I think unless you have one or two other questions, Gloria, and we could take on that before we retire.
Yes, I wanted to ask question. You actually spoke about the 25% in Abuja. I wanted maybe if there's a way to actually throw more light concerning other prayers Peter Obi made and their response. That's Tinubu and Shetima's response to these prayers. So at least we can get to know more about them.
Yeah, well, we've dealt with substantial non-compliance yesterday by INEC. That came together, all right? We've also dealt with this 25% now. The other prayers they made was about the forfeiture. We've done programs times without number about that forfeiture. They are trying to say that there is nowhere it is written that a fine, and nowhere a fine was mentioned. But I'm asking, in the case of Mohammed Abacha versus federal government, where this current chief justice was the lead, that read the lead judgment, there was no fine on Abacha. It was his property that was he forfeited, and the Supreme Court rightly said that forfeiture is a price you pay for a crime you commit. And they are saying that there was nowhere it is written a fine. Well, but you forfeited something. All of a sudden, in 1993, you forfeited $460,000. Do you know what that means in 1993? Just like that. I mean, just like that. I don't even know when Bill Gates started Microsoft, whether, do you get what I mean? That is it. And then they are saying that it is not a criminal charge. Well, if the code, America has a code for all their charges and code. The SC code, I think 982, when we went online to check that code, it was a code on money laundering and how you forfeit things that has to do with money laundering, narcotics, and what have you. So I don't know why they say so, whereas on the charge sheet, what he's charged for was written there. And the code, which is available on the internet, is there for the whole world to see. So that is it. So these are the allegations that the Labour Party raised, and they're asking for that. In fact, bluntly, Labour Party is asking for a recollation of the votes, because the majority of the votes that made APC the winner were their own votes that was shifted to them. And that those votes, if they were returned back to them, they will become the winner. And that other votes given to them were votes that were given in places where they were overvoting. And that when they look at the beavers and discount those votes that were overvoting and return to them the other legal votes, they will become the winner, which means technically they are asking for recollation. Okay? And then they're also saying on the issue of Abuja, If the votes were to be recollated and the need for second ballot arises, that the APC candidate should be disqualified, because based on these allegations raised on the double nomination, remember the issue of double nomination. Double nomination is also another disqualifying factor, which, according to the address, they say it has been handled by the Supreme Court, but it's not true. The Supreme Court has not handled it. What got to the Supreme Court was the fact that PDP went to court, and the High Court says, you don't have a legal standby. It is a pre-election matter. They proceeded to the appeal court, and appeal court sustained the judgment of the High Court, and they proceeded to the Supreme Court, and Supreme Court sustained the judgment of the appeal court. And then one justice there said, as a matter of policy, that this candidate had actually written his party withdrawing his candidacy for the Borno Central Senatorial District. Fine. Nobody's denying that he did not write. Let us take it for granted that he wrote and that the judge rightly pointed it out. But if you wrote your party and your party, in coming to inform INEC about what you told them, made a mistake, who is supposed to pay the price? Who is supposed to? Yesterday, I saw a video clip of a Nigerian being deported from Canada. He's married to a Canadian, but his lawyer told him and his wife not to submit document for his naturalization until the baby that his wife was carrying in the womb was born, so that they will include the birth certificate. Whilst they were waiting for the baby to be born, the time elapsed. They deported him. His lawyer's advice cost him deportation. If APC as a party made a mistake in the process of submission of documents, that renders whether the letter he wrote or he did not write useless. It's a simple and straightforward thinking. It's like when they say every party, every person should go and submit their document to the party, and then the political party will go and submit to the INEC. And I am a candidate, and I went to my party and I submitted my form, and my party did not go to submit it to the INEC. Will INEC come and say, oh, so you gave it to your party, you're cleared? It doesn't happen. So, Mr. Justice, you are right, but Labour Party is still right. So that's it. If we don't see surprise tomorrow, we can clean up these remaining things I mentioned here tomorrow. As in because again, like they're saying that they submitted the academic history of their candidate. That is not the issue here. As I keep saying, he might have as well been even the best graduating student. The question here is that the paper he gave to INEC on oath, the university say it's not the one they gave to him. You see now, he was a student. That is not the one they gave to him. There is a possibility that the one they gave to him got lost. And because time is running out, he just need to, get to Luole to conjure something. After all, he was once a student. But the law does not work like that. I am not among those that says he didn't go to university. How can I? Did I know what happened in 1969? I am only saying that the certified copy university release is not a replica of the one he submitted, and that is what the parties are pushing. Period.
Thank you so much for this breakdown. No doubt our judges, they will look into this matter, honestly. They will look into it. They can't see white and call it black. Neither will they see black and call it white. They should just dispense justice. Because, some people were like, the 25%, the 25%. But, the 25% is not the only prayer Peter Obi wants the judiciary, the judges to look into. There are so many controversies. But, yeah, the law will take its course. Thank God our constitution is there to guide our judges. So, Dr. Patel, thank you so much for your time. Our viewers, we appreciate you all for joining us. Please do well to equally join us tomorrow. Thank you so much for your time and good night.
All right,
Gloria,
thank you, people.
for your
Have a
time.
lovely time. Good day.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
Bye.
Thank you so much. Good night.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.